Bonjour à tout le monde. Au nom du Comité pour une Paix Juste au Proche-Orient et aussi de nos partenaires associés, le Centre culturel Altrimenti, l'ASTM, Jewish Call for Peace, les Amis du Monde diplomatique et le Friedensplattform. Je vous souhaite la bienvenue à notre symposium qui traitera de la place du droit international dans un monde et un environnement géopolitique de plus en plus instable et qui traitera plus particulièrement du retour en force du peuple palestinien sur cette même scène du droit international. Le symposium sera divisé en 3 parties, traitant dans une première partie donc le droit international en relation avec le Proche-Orient en général et la Palestine en particulier. Dans une deuxième partie, les objectifs et les limites de la Cour internationale de justice. Et dans une troisième partie, de l'universalité des droits humains. Ces 3 parties seront animées par des éminents spécialistes en la matière qui vous seront présentés de manière exhaustive tout au long de la journée. Donc, laissez-moi toutefois déjà, dès maintenant, remercier toutes les intervenantes et tous les intervenants pour leur disponibilité en ces temps tumultueux où ils sont accaparés de partout et probablement 24 heures sur 24 heures. Donc, un grand merci donc à Lema NAZEEH, Francesca Albanese et François Dubuisson, Insa Frezagui, Manuel Devers et Lubna Chomali d'être présents aujourd'hui, que ce soit en présentiel ou par vidéoconférence. Donc, le symposium se terminera par une table ronde sur le thème du comment faire progresser la justice pour les Palestiniens sur base des dernières avancées du droit international. Cette table ronde à laquelle normalement participeront Gusti Gras du DP, Franz Fayo du LSAP et Insa Frezagui, une des intervenantes d'aujourd'hui. Elle sera modérée par Michel Erpelding, qui est un chercheur en droit international de l'Université de Luxembourg, et nous les remercions également de leur présence aujourd'hui. Donc, par ailleurs, je tiens à vous informer que tous les membres du gouvernement luxembourgeois ont été personnellement invités par le CPJPO à participer au symposium d'aujourd'hui. Comme vous pouvez le constater, il n'y a aucun membre du gouvernement qui a répondu positivement à cette invitation. Permettez-moi toutefois de citer et de remercier les ministres qui ont eu l'obligeance au moins de s'excuser pour leur non-présence. Donc, il s'agit des ministres Xavier Bettel, Juriko Bakkes, Claude Maisch, Max Hahn et Lex Telles. Et il est intéressant de noter peut-être ici que j'ai remarqué ça au fur et à mesure que j'ai noté les noms, qu'il s'agit de 5 ministres du Parti libéral DP. Donc, aucun ministre CSV n'a même daigné s'excuser pour sa non-présence ici. Donc, avant de terminer et de passer la parole à Gilles Lanners pour vous introduire dans la première partie du symposium, j'aimerais citer le professeur canadien Michael Link, qui est l'ancien rapporteur spécial pour les droits de l'homme dans les territoires palestiniens occupés, et qui disait que le droit international est une promesse que les États font non seulement les uns aux autres, mais aussi à leurs citoyens. Et il a également dit que le droit international n'appartient pas aux seuls juristes, il nous appartient à tous. Voilà, je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup, Jules. Donc, bonjour encore une fois aussi de mon côté. Je vais vous introduire la première intervenante qui est Lema NAZEEH. Donc, Lema, elle est conseillère juridique basée à Bruxelles au service de la mission palestinienne auprès de l'Union européenne. Ses responsabilités antérieures comprenaient la gestion des dossiers des victimes devant la Cour pénale internationale et la résolution des problèmes liés aux droits humains. Elle est aussi vice-présidente des comités de coordination de la lutte populaire palestinienne, ainsi que militante en faveur des droits humains par le biais de la résistance non violente. Voilà, une introduction très courte, et maintenant je donne la parole à Lema. The stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. Let me prepare my stuff first. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for inviting me. Thank you, Gilles, for the introduction. So I'm Lema NAZEEH. I work as a diplomat in the Palestinian embassy in Brussels, following the European Union. And previously, I have worked in the multilateral department in the MFA, mainly focusing on the ICC, ICJ, and victims, and advancing our approaches in the multilateral international stages for Palestine. Of course, this is a very solemn responsibility to me to speak on behalf of my people, to speak today. Every day is a heavy day for us. And today is another day of witnessing brutality, violence. For over 75 years, the Palestinians have been engaged in a battle, not just for land, but for dignity, for human rights, and for justice. And I believe for justice for everyone, not only for Palestinians. The fight is not only for survival, but for the recognition of our fundamental rights and under international law, the rights that have been denied us through colonialism, occupation, apartheid, and now genocide. We're here, every Palestinians are asking, what is the international community will do? How the world can stand idle as Israel flagrantly violates international law and commit these atrocities. The complicity and the silence of powerful states have emboldened Israel to act with full impunity. We have paved the way. The Palestinians have adopted different strategies. We have adopted the strategies of resistance, armed resistance, nonviolent resistance, BDS, international law, all kinds actually of strategies we have adopted it throughout the 76 years of occupation. In our perspective as officials from the Palestinian Liberation Movement, we have decided to go to the international level, to create our state of Palestine, to create our international personnel for our country, to be able to engage with all states, to be able to pursue justice for the Palestinian people and to maintain our rights. We have, since 2012, we have been granted the non-observer member state in the United Nations. That will pave us the way more to go into acceding more treaties, international organizations. Therefore, we have been able to be acceded to UNESCO, and UNESCO paved the way for us to enter and ratify more than 100 international treaties for human rights, international organizations, including the International Court of Justice. We did had many attempts for the ICC. And we succeeded in 2015 to pursue accountability for Israelis officials. And at the same time, we did trigger the ICJ, the International Court of Justice. We have asked for an advisory opinion to tackle the illegality, or the question was basically the consequences arising from the policies and practices by the Israeli occupation. The questions mainly, is the occupation after 75 years or 56 years since the 67 illegal? Is it illegal in the international law? What applicable law actually applies to the Palestinian people? So mainly the court recently has determined and answered these questions without any room for doubt. Mainly, of course, international humanitarian law and human rights law applicable to Palestine. And even we can go back to the 2004 advisory opinion of the Wall. They already confirmed that, yes, there is an overlap between the international humanitarian law and the international human rights law. And actually, the question of Palestine answered many questions in the international law, which is the intersectionality between the IHL and between the human rights. And therefore, the ICJ advisory opinion of 2004 offered that for the international law, that yes, when there's an armed conflict, human rights applies. In the question of Palestine, so And at the same time, if we're going to speak more about how the state of Palestine engaged more in the international stage, of course, we have chaired, for instance, the G77 in 2019, and we did had an interstate complaint in the third convention, which is the Convention of Elimination of All Racial Discrimination, where the ad hoc committee has said that Israel, in a breach of the third convention, which means there's an apartheid or segregation as well. And the ICJ advisory opinion have confirmed that as well. So, the core of the advisory opinion of 2014 for us, it revolves around the continued occupation of the West Bank, Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip. The ICJ reiterated that the occupation is unlawful and transformed into a de facto annexation. Israel's policies of settlement expansion, land confiscation, and transfer of its civilians' population into the occupied territories stand in direct violation of the Fourth Convention, the Fourth Geneva Convention, which explicitly prohibits the occupying power transferring its own population into a territory it occupies. For me, every time we're going to think about, okay, the Palestinian people have already paved the way for engaging with international, at the international stage in the multilateral fora. At the same time, what the international community have been actually sending the Palestinian people messages. We have already did the job. I would say the Palestinians did all the job. We resist, and we're still resisting. We are boycotting. We are actually looking into every single norm and principles in international law, in international criminal law, and human rights, just to tell the whole world that yes, we do have the right, and yes, we do have the right to exist. Yes, we do have the right to self-determination. The self-determination of the Palestinian people, that it's an erga omnes in international law. It's a right for all nations, for all nations that can exercise the right to self-determination. Yet, we're still proving, yet we're still trying to tell the international community, yes, we deserve to have our states, to have our freedom, to dismantle this illegal settler colonial regime. But what we're receiving from them is actually blocking us at every corner. They're countless UN Security Councils resolution. We're faced with vetoes. We shrinking space, trying to label us as anti-Semitism. If any organization or any person can actually criticize the policies of the State of Israel, which is the occupying power, now we can say it's the illegal occupant. We have been faced of cutting funding for the Palestinian institution, Palestinian PLO, UNRWA, organizations, refugees, you name it. So they are trying to corner the Palestinian people, to strip them from every single right, to defend every single, to strip them all their rights, and to tell them, do not defend yourself. You don't have the right to resist. But who has the right to resist? Who has the right to defend itself? Apparently, Israel has the only right to defend itself under the United Nations charters. So they only use the UN charter when it comes to Israel's right to defend itself. But does it? Does Israel has the right to defend itself? Does an occupying power has the right to defend itself from the people they occupy? This is one of the questions. This is a crystal clear question. It's simple. And we do believe the question of Palestine is simple, and it's crystal clear. Foreign occupation came, occupied the land in an aim to erase and transfer the Palestinian people. It's either wiping them off or transferring them to neighboring countries. That's ethnic cleansing. Let's name it as it is. It's ethnic cleansing for the whole nation. We have been warned. We have warned the whole community, or the whole international community, that giving Israel full impunity, give Israel blind eye on all its atrocities. Yet they are enforcing these rights into other states, but depriving it from the Palestinians will put us in where we are now, in a place that the question is related only into the only into the international community to enforce it. We have did the job. We have did all the homework, let's say it. We have been resisting. We have we have tried to answer every legal questions to prove it that yes, we do have the right to exist. Yes, we do have the right for freedom. But we cannot enforce it if there is no well. Farther? Okay, I'm kissing it, apparently. Thank you. This is better? Okay, no, it's fine. So, will the international community we finally wake up to this alarming situation and learn from history, address the root causes of the current tragic violence and instability, and say enough is enough? Israel must immediately end its occupation. Honestly, I'm going to share with you my personal moment when the ICJ said, immediately evacuate all settlers and immediately cease all settlement activities. The way it resonated to our actually ears as a human being, we thought this moment we couldn't even hear it. Like it was the moment when we wanted to hear so direct, straightforward that this is what Israel should do. I'm sorry, but today and every day is not a day that we can all the time speak about the question of Palestine without a heavy heart, without feeling pain inside my heart. But so for the last 75 years, Israel has illegally used the force, implemented policies and practices that have shared the common aim of displacing and replacing the Palestinian people, of course, in violation of our right of self-determination and other norms in international law should be like inalienable rights for every human being. But so basically, what we have now, what we're facing now, it's three main principles. What we want from the international community is three main things: to enforce the advisory opinion, to tell the Israeli that you need now to dismantle everything, to dismantle your occupation, to dismantle the settlement, and reparation. The reparation, it includes restitution, compensation, and guarantees for non-repetition of what happened. And it means you have to dismantle the wall, you have to evacuate the settlement, you have to evacuate the settlers, but that cannot happen by one day. And it cannot happen if the international communities are not enforcing it. But yes, the question of international law, does it actually exist in the politics? Does it exist with the politicians? Do they refer to all these actual work of international law, of all legal experts and all international bodies, including the UN? Do they have the will to implement or enforce it? So far, we don't see that. All what we hear is merely political solutions, long-term political solution, or humanitarian aid. And mainly at the EU level, that's exactly the topics. They start the beginning of Israel has the right to defend itself based on the UN Charter, and then they stop speaking about international law, and then they go to politics. Let's speak about long-term solutions, without naming who's the occupying, who's the occupier, and without even condemning any of these violations. They want us to accept any political solution without any rights. That's on the international level. But when we go back to Palestine, in reality, what happened in this year, 24, sorry. 43 new settlements being built, yes. More than actually 7 billion shekels, equivalent to like 3 billion euro, being now advanced in the settlement policies, changing the roads. That's exactly this year, building 43 new outposts. That's what's happening now in reality. And criminalizing UNRWA, criminalizing the Palestinian resistance, criminalizing the BDS, criminalizing our civil society, criminalizing even non-violent resistance. Even the non-violent resistance, it's being criminalized. And at the same time, the Israeli government are stealing the money of the Palestinian people, stealing the money that is being funded for the Palestinian people without any money. So they are cornering us. And what the international community are doing at that, or let's say the powerful states, are still not only staying silent, worse, they're actually assisting. They are complicit. They are helping. They are still providing weapons to the Israeli regime. They are still the companies are still they are still actually giving benefits for the Israeli economy and trade with the settlement. Everything is still actually on the move. Nothing happened. Only what happened in this year, in the past year, only punishing the Palestinian people. But there was no measures being taken against this entity based on the international law. There's no even reassessing any agreements, any international agreements. Israel is still going into United Nations. Israel is still part of a lot of actually human rights conventions. Israel is still participating normally in international stages. Maybe they want us to stay silent, to say this is it. But we know, and the history already has told us, the Palestinian people can still pursue and trigger every avenues exist in this modern history. Whether it was legal, whether it was resistance, we're gonna adopt every strategy. Now we have reached a genocide, a plausible genocide, as the ICJ has said. And we have seen and we have witnessing genocide in our own eyes every day. We have seen our people, they said they are human animals. And we've been treated as human animals. We've been dragged, killed in the most brutal way, dragged in the streets. We have seen actually this practice in reality. It's not only a sentence, it's not only incitement. Actually, it's an incitement and enforcing it. They did cut all electricity. They did cut food, fuel for the Palestinians in Gaza, while they're already living in a siege. There is arrest warrants in the ICC. There is a request for arrest warrants for both sides. And what Israel did, killed actually people already, killed Palestinians who are under still the questions of accountability at the international courts. Instead of actually waiting to see the ICC, for instance, what they did, they killed them. They killed every single person will actually be, we have the right to speak about their cases. They killed them. They take their own power with their own hands. And then they are being applauded by the US. Congratulate them, like feeling happy that yes, Israel is still committing to counter-terrorism, to stabilize the region, without mentioning to the Palestinian. But there is an ICC. There's a situation there. They can actually look into it, but no, Israel has the right to defend itself. Israel has the right in whatever it takes to defend itself. That's what actually Europeans and the US have stated, have emboldened Israel. Like, you can do whatever you want. We are shielding you. We are going to give you impunity. We are going to try to reassess and for the Palestinian, we will see, to reassess our agreements with Israeli. But did it happen? No, it didn't happen. Did the EU actually, did any review of any leverage they have for Israel based on international law? We didn't see it so far. We didn't see any review of even a review for association agreement. We didn't see a review, even any measure to ban Israeli products. Only products even. We're not speaking about companies. We didn't see any measures as well. We didn't see, we're still seeing a normal diplomatic relationship going with the Israeli without even warning them that what you're doing there's an accountability. So, should we live in a double standard world? Should we stay living in a double standard where applicable law only can be applicable for other states, only international law can actually be valid to other states, but for Palestinians, no? Let's speak about diplomacy, negotiations, enforcing peace, stability in the region, without speaking about actually there is an occupier, an illegal occupier has changed laws, have enforced policies against the Palestinians, arresting, killing, giving more rights for settlers, giving more rights for every single Israeli or every single even Jewish around the world. Like, you have all the rights, but not the Palestinians. The Palestinian always needs to prove themselves. The Palestinians always needs to prove that they are living under occupation. We need still to prove that, yes, Israel is in grave violation of IHL. Israel is creating new facts on the ground, and that's a violation of IHL. Israel are transferring their population in violation of IHL. Israel has built the wall in violation of IHL and the human rights. We don't have, Israel are building more checkpoints for Palestinians without any right to movement. Israel are depriving us from our dignity. But for us, we know that the history have taught us a lot, many times, that what we see now enforcing on people oppressed can change very soon. But the question is for everyone, what's going to be your position when the reality and when we actually win and we will gain our freedom? How they're gonna react? All these states who are complicit are part of it in aiding or assisting this occupation. I would say, like what we did the whole burden is on you. The whole burden is in the states. The whole burden is, of course, the ultimate responsibility is in the occupying power, Israel. But then the enforcing and deterring this regime is only by states, only by international law. And we cannot put it aside. We cannot only use it without actually making it is the main umbrella for the Palestinian questions when we are discussing even politics. You cannot deny that. You cannot deny the Palestinian rights. We know pretty well that we cannot, like Palestinians, even now they are punishing the resistance, punishing the Palestinian people, trying to suppress them and oppress them through different policies. And I assume everyone knows all these multi-layered policies in place against Palestinians. Oh my God, it's a chaotic here. It's simple. The measures are simple even. The measures of international law are simple. Impose sanctions. And they exist and they're being used pretty well in every state. We have seen it. There is already another conflict going on. We are seeing sanctions. We are seeing accountability working. We are seeing the demands of international law. We are seeing all the measures being imposed on other nations pretty well, working very, I wouldn't say in an efficient manner, but it's being channeled at every corner. But for the Palestinians, no, we don't speak about it. You don't speak about sanctions. Sanction, ooh, this is a bad word for Palestinians. BDS, ooh, this is like the devil. Ban trade settlement, okay, we will. How you gonna ban trade settlement? Why is it still being delayed? Why there is all the agreement, the economic agreement? Israel is part of a lot of technologies agreement, the horizon, that's at the EU level. But at the same time, Israel is still exercising its leverage, its benefits, its economic participation in a normal way. Yes, we are pushing. There is a lot of action happened, and we are still demanding the military embargo. We are seeing a lot of moves and steps is being taken for military embargo from different states, but yet we still have the biggest allies for Israel, the US, still sending weapons, empowering this nation actually to kill more Palestinians, children and women and elderly. Like, that's exactly the aim of the Israeli. And it's very clear now, like this year, nobody can now, again, deny that they say we don't know. Everybody now know. Everybody now aware of actually Israelis' policies and practices. Everyone is now aware that Israel's main intent is to wipe out all Palestinians. Everyone, and not only, in reality, that it's happening. I leave 1 year far from Palestine, I come back, I see different roads, I see different checkpoints, and it's that rapid. It's that rapid, especially this year, it was that rapid. We're speaking about all the international law, but in reality, there is nothing being enforced. Israel is still proceeding with every single violation that we are already, that the whole international experts and competent agencies have said and warned Israel that you are in flagrant violations, you are committing war crimes, you are committing crimes against humanity, you are annexing. And we have seen that in history in other countries. And we know that it's gonna come to an end. But it's only under the will under the will of the international of the states. Without the states, we cannot. No one can deter this regime. We need to empower. We need always to pressure on states to implement the ICJ advisory opinion. At least to start from the ICJ advisory opinion, where it was crystal clear to maintain these rights, to dismantle the occupation, to give us the compensation. But is it going to happen? Are we now at that place? I'm afraid, honestly. I'm afraid of the question of international law when it comes now. I'm personally in enforcing it. Because yes, there is a very stronger power against us and working against us and protecting Israel. Yes, and we have to be frank in that. Now they are changing maybe the Middle East, how it's gonna look like. Is it in our favor? I don't know to whom's favor, but indeed not for the Palestinian people. But we know that everybody knows, and the basics are with us. The rights are with the Palestinians, and we know every single policy being implemented against us, whether it was in East Jerusalem, or it was in Gaza, or in the West Bank, or even inside 48. We know that it's an apartheid. We live it. We have the different ideas for that. We are being transferred in a daily manner. Like since only this year, more than 109 Palestinians were displaced from their communities in the West Bank only. So we are seeing these violations happening and in place. We have to keep pressuring on even us, even on the Palestinian Authority, even on the PLO, even on all states, that you need to enforce the international law. You need to enforce any political solution without accountability, any political solution without granting the Palestinian rights cannot be a solution for the Palestinian people, and we know that. We know Palestinian people cannot accept easily any political solution. They will resist in different forms, and we are creative. We always create a new kind of form of resistance. We know that. That's our dignity. That's the fight of our dignity. So yes, if the international states, they think, yeah, we can speak only about politics and stripping it from the international law, Palestinian people will come again and will resist any political solution, and we are warning that we cannot undermine anymore any rights, especially after the 7th of October. Before even, remember when before 7th of October, we said 2023 is the worst year of killing Palestinians in the West Bank and the gravest, but still, after 7th of October and now, it's different. And there is a lot of landmark decisions came, whether it's from ICJ, and whether from Commission of Inquiry, and ICC, United Nations, and in all its institutions. We know that these are our rights. And we know exactly what they should do. It's clear, and the ICJ made it clear. Impose sanctions on Israel. The arms embargo and economic sanctions should be immediate and comprehensive, and suspend all trade agreements with the Israeli and that fund and support this illegal occupant. Hold Israel's leaders accountable through the International Criminal Court, and in their role of war crimes, crime against humanity, and genocide. Of course, dismantling all settlements and support reparations for the damage caused for the Palestinian people's land, and prosecute corporations that profit from the occupation and apartheid through universal jurisdiction mechanism. And then the international community should decide, do you want to stand in the side, stands for justice and the rule of law, or you will want to continue flourish Israel's violations and committing more crimes? And the question is for you. What's applicable for Palestine, applicable for other states? What's applicable for other states, applicable for Palestine? And that's the test. And I'm finished. And that's the test now for them. The international law should be enforced equally to all states, to all nations, to everyone. And just one last thing I want to tell you. Palestinian people, they do see you, and they do hear you. And we do know, because of you, our request and our plea for accountability and for justice, we know that it's being channeled through you, through your work, that you are standing with us, standing with our rights, and you are screaming loud and pressuring your governments, pressuring your states to be in line with justice, to be in line with the principles of humanity, and to put an end to this grave injustices that we are facing in our modern history. And it will continue till we gain our freedom, even if there is only one single Palestinian left in the world. They will still asking for dignity and freedom. And that's always, we need always to remind people that any conspiracy, any agreements, any kind of discourse is not in line with our rights, we will resist it. Thank you very much. So apparently you can ask some questions. So if you have any questions you want to ask.
Yes, thank you very much, Lema. And we open now for questions, if you have some questions. Yesterday evening I heard our Prime Minister Frieden at the télé. There was a sommet de l'Union européenne in Brussels, and he was asked about Palestine. He said, yes, with Israel we can negotiate, but with Palestinians you can't negotiate. So I was shocked. That's the only thing he said.
Yes.
So perhaps there are other questions. He said, with Israel we can negotiate, but with Palestinians, with terrorists, you cannot negotiate. That was his statement about Israel, Palestine, and about Ukraine. It's billions, billions, billions to continue the war. So, okay, so yes.
Yes, of course, that's the discourse. This is what the states have painted the Palestinians as terrorists, the Palestinian resistance as terrorists. They are putting us in the same, actually, other terrorist entity that we are already countering to in the region and in the whole world. They are painting the Palestinian as terrorists. But this discourse we all know, and now for us it's outdated. If they can negotiate with Israel, good luck. Good luck to them. Of course, we are not part of it. Good luck with them if they can negotiate with Israel, and Israel can negotiate under the international law principles and diplomacy. Really, good luck with them. But the Palestinians people, I think we have proved very much that we are in line with international law, that we have demanded and adopted all kind of diplomacy and peace and negotiations. We have entered into these negotiations, and we have went to international law. But in the same summit, you could see, let's be frank, on the same statements, you could see Ukraine and Palestine. You can see the international law being enforced, and the language of international law acquisition, land by force, is against international law, and in the Ukraine situation, the aggression. But in the Palestinian situation, you don't name, they didn't name even occupying or occupier. They didn't condemn. They only speak about long-term political solutions and referring to self-determination. But how come self-determination is referred to while speaking about long-term political solution decided in the international law, even with the two-state solutions being offered by the states, and we accepted it. We said, yes, let's work on it. And now everyone finally is seeing, is it possible? Do we see really two-state solution? Is it from our side, or is it there's settlement? You cannot even see it in your own eyes. It's fragmented. The whole country is fragmented. And we know that it's against the law. And if they don't want to negotiate with us, of course, we're going to start the negotiation based on self-determination, and then we continue negotiation. And that's the least we can ask and demand. It's the least, it's the main, it's the cornerstone for any country. We speak about self-determination, we speak about rights, we speak accountability, then we go to negotiations. We don't mind, but let's grant these actually main principles in law. And that's our That's how you enter any negotiation, in the same way with other states, in the same manner.
Oui, vous avez démontré de façon très efficace. Vous avez démontré de façon très claire que vous avez le droit pour vous. Nous savons tous ici que nous avons le droit pour vous. Dans votre intervention, vous avez à plusieurs reprises fait appel à la communauté internationale. Qui est la communauté internationale?
When I speak about international community, it's basically international, the states. States are part of the United Nations and the multilateral, part of the General Assembly. They have the power to enforce it. Who has the power to enforce international law? Who has the power to enforce it on the Palestinians? Who has the power to pursue accountability? It's powerful states. It's always the states. But who demands it? Who pressuring them? It's the people. So it's always lays on the states to enforce it. It's the states to make, to not only saying us, we take notes from the ICJ advisory opinion, or we acknowledge the ICC. No, it's the same to other countries. You enforce it. You use accountability. That's the law you created, not us even. That's the law that the same states created. So based on your laws, based on these principles that it was created throughout history and throughout a lot of conflicts, just enforce it. Microphone for her.
Oui, excusez-moi. J'ai dit qu'effectivement, j'avais à peu près la même question que celle qui vient d'être posée. Je rajouterais quand même, vous avez dit à un moment donné, il y a des États quand même qui appuient la Palestine. Mais quels sont ces États qui appuient la Palestine? Ici, on se sent quand même bien seul. Alors, est-ce qu'on doit attendre que Trump soit élu? Là, j'ai entendu ce matin qu'effectivement, il allait tout résoudre parce qu'il veut un Moyen-Orient pacifié. Alors, est-ce que c'est lui qui va faire quelque chose?
When we speak about countries supporting Palestine, it's always the South. It's always the South countries. We have seen Nicaragua, we have seen South Africa, we have seen other nations that know. It's not, the whole world is not only lays on the US and the Europeans. There is more states and there is more countries. And they are empowering the Palestinian peoples, especially the people who have lived the pain and the conflicts of the colonial powers that we all know. So yes, we have all the South countries are with us. We have seen already, we have seen the support in the General Assembly, especially the last one for the implementation of the ICJ. We have seen the votes there. We've in every multilateral forum we do see the people voting in favor of Palestine. Now seeing even South Africa taking the question, taking what's happening in Gaza to the ICJ. That's the ultimate act of solidarity too. That's the ultimate act of pursuing justice. So yes, there is country. Our problems, it's very known. People are, the countries are shielding Israel and emboldening it for its impunity. We all know who are these countries. This is not the word, indeed. It's not, it's the West, indeed, yes, it is. That's the reality.
Yes, hello. It's in English, sorry. More on the European level, we see very different approaches from different countries in Europe, but there are two countries that I think are kind of more, they question the way Israel is responding to this conflict, let's call it, Spain and Ireland. And they seem to be saying, you know, like from their politicians, you know, ministers, that, they're not selling arms to Israel, they're not exporting, they're not allowing cargo ships to go to Israel and all the rest. But in reality, I really have my doubts that that is really happening. The other day, only in Spain, the Minister for Social Affairs and Consumption, I think, only sent a letter to some companies in Spain that are importing products from occupied Palestinian land, advising them, not even telling them stop this, but advising them that they should label these products. I mean, which is clearly a violation. It's just an advice. I mean, it's not even. So from your European, your work at the European level, do you really think we were only seeing gestures, words, but not real actions? Because I really have my doubts.
Honestly speaking, there's a lot of significant moves have been taken from different European states, and it's very important. It's very important, even though it's symbolic maybe for other people. You would see it, you would think that it is symbolic, that like the recognition or like giving the advice, but the battle is long. We know that. It's not gonna end very soon. And why? Because of exactly like the small steps we are taking and the states are taking. And Norway actually even gave an opinion as well to advise companies, giving them note to implement and enforce the ICJ. But that's the first step. The second step should be the people and the organizations take it into legislation, taking it into actually a legislation, not only to label, to be in line with the ICJ, as Spain already, and the Prime Minister has called to ban the trade settlements. So what we need to do it now is making it as a national legislation in each country. So, because yes, we know European Union as a whole union when it comes to the questions of Palestine, there is no unity. It's always there is no unity. So we need to do it through national legislation. Yes, there are some countries like Ireland, like Spain, and now Norway in Europe. They will take it into legislations, and we have to pressure in your national level. And always now we need to exert the national level, which is under the universal jurisdictions. We need to enforce the accountability and to ban the trade, not only labeling it. Okay, as a start, you want to label the product for the consumers to know and acknowledge that these are coming from an occupied territory. Okay, it's a significance, it's symbolic, it's important, but we need now to act, to ban, and to make a legislation into Spanish law and into each European law.
You spoke also in English. So you spoke about nation states supporting. How do you see the cooperation of regional Arab states? Do you have hope that it will improve the situation for Palestine?
For the Arab states?
Yes.
Okay. My God, this question. People's power. We know people's power are pushing. Look, we understand in our region, there is a lot of challenges. And our region is under the radar for all regional powers. There is the region is very, yes, it's not a very stable region. But, and the Arabs are, of course, the Arabs are the people, are the countries raising the Palestinian questions in the international fora at the United Nations. They are supporting the quest of accountability and our legal character as a state of Palestine, indeed. But yes, as we are being cornered, I believe even the Arabs are being cornered as well. And let's keep it to the people. Let's keep it to the people we know, we trust, we believe in our brothers and sisters around us, in our region. And let's keep it to that. We can talk about it later, me and you.